Hi, I'm Mike Henry, and this is my Procreate demo for the piece I call Colorful. So you can see here, this is another symmetry one. I think I hinted a few videos back that I had one more coming. This is another head from the same file when I originally did a few symmetrical head sketches. And you can see here I make the hair a little asymmetrical. That's basically the only thing that's asymmetrical in the original drawing. And then we get to painting. Real quick before the painting starts, you'll see me smudging and smearing a bit. That's because there was a bug in Procreate at the time, and I was just doing like a quick test. I think it was the next day. I mean, it was like almost immediately after it was a big problem. Procreate patched it, and so we're all good now. So that's why you see me then continue with it, because it was actually a symmetry bug that was the problem. So anyways, I started by knowing that I wanted him to have a weird skin color. You can see I started with red. I lowered the opacity here so that I could keep the ears separate and then the body separate. And by lowering that opacity, I saw that everything was pink, and I was like, okay, let's just keep with pink. And you'll see that as a running theme through this image, that there are times where I'm lowering the opacity of a flat and I like the color, and then I say, actually, what if we just made that color? So the real spirit behind this piece was just to take this character that had already been drawn and just try to find something interesting on the color side to do with him. It's also kind of funny because this in some ways mirrors the chick I did in the Painted Lady piece, because it's just somebody that's got paint on them. That is where this will eventually go, is that he is painted, he is not these colors. And that's just something that seemed like fun to do a couple of times. After this piece, I actually did this before Christmas, but the timing of all the videos that were dropping and releasing the new brushes and things like that, his actual video and posting on Instagram got pushed to 2020. So while this is my first video of 2020, this actually isn't the first piece I did in 2020. That will be the next video. I'm actually hoping to post that later this week on Instagram, and then it'll go up here probably next week. I'm trying to focus on keeping the time between when I do the piece and post it on Instagram to the time that it ends up here on YouTube shorter. That's what I used to do, mostly because my back was up against the wall and I was just doing pieces as fast as I could and recording them as fast as I could. But then I became a little bit more prolific, and it was much easier for me to find time to do the paintings than it was for me to find time to do the recordings. So what I'm going to try to do is make sure that if this piece goes out on something like Instagram, then a video comes after it pretty quickly. I posted this yesterday. I am recording this video obviously right now. I think I'm going to release the video on the same day. So the last thing I have to say is there are some new things in this video. I almost always edit these in iMovie. I have recently purchased LumaFusion, and I'm trying to teach myself that. It is much more cumbersome, but it is much more powerful than iMovie. So, and I'm talking iOS iMovie, not even like Mac OS iMovie. So it's a big jump, and there's a lot to learn. So we'll see. I think ultimately it's going to bring some improvements to the videos, but it's going to take a while to really harness all the power. So what you see in this video is actually a mix of LumaFusion and iMovie, because I'm getting the benefits of both of them right now. And as I get a little bit more comfortable with LumaFusion, I think you're going to see more just sort of effects and unique title cards and things like that. So I think that's all the housekeeping of sort of mentioning things that are going on. This is my last week of break before I go back to work, so I don't know how prolific I'm going to be once I'm back. There's a lot of things going on, and I have a lot of travel coming up, but we'll see how everything goes. As it stands right now, I think I'll be able to keep up. Okay, I've gone on too long without talking about the piece, so let's start talking about what's on screen. I think the reason why I'm talking about other things is because this piece is almost identical to the methods that was used in the Painted Lady, and what was used in Rita seems different, and some of these other pieces where it is all just done with the symmetry tool. So I've explained that in those videos. If you'd like a deeper explanation of the symmetry tool, please go take a look at those. For this, all you need to know is that I'm doing my usual methodology. I'm using the Select Paint, Select Clear, which the new version of that video is now linked down below. For this, I also painted it, actually I painted this with the regular turpentine brush that's already in Procreate. The next piece is going to be completely created with all of the new brushes that I posted, so look forward to that. Some of the brushes though that's happening in here, like the hair and what will eventually be the pattern on the background, are new ones that Savage added to Procreate in Procreate 5. So there is some playing with new things happening here. I'm using a red shadow, a reddish brown shadow like I tend to, and then there will be a pale blue highlight that gets put on. And right now you're going to see right there, I lowered the body opacity flat so that I could see more clearly the break between the head and the body. I did that earlier as well, and I liked this. I liked the fact that he had kind of an orange body and then a pink face and then green hair. It's really just, I'm just kind of having fun with it. There's no real deep meaning. I'm not trying to find anything too unique other than reading the expression on the character's face and then playing with some color stuff. That's really it. So here we're doing the direct cast shadow. The lighting is in the top right and it's hitting him top right, slightly in front of him, and it's just slightly, actually, it's pretty to the side, and it's casting this harsh shadow across him. The shadow and the ambient occlusion shadow, which is sort of what I was painting before, is all done with the same color and then set to multiply. We've got a couple of those layers going on. Then the colors of the body and everything else, I mean, that's why they can change like that. They can switch to orange and they can be whatever they want because we're only using reactive layers on top of those flats. I'm starting to realize now that eventually I put like blush and 5 o'clock shadow on this character, but he's painted. And that doesn't make any sense, but who cares, right? Whatever. So now we're just making sure that we sell that sort of poof of hair that's coming towards us by shadowing it in the way that we're shadowing it. It's making it look like it protrudes a lot more, and then by trying to capture that cast shadow down over his face, it really sells it even further. If we don't do those two things, it actually doesn't look like it's coming towards us much. It looks like it's just sort of this amorphous shape that's shifted to the right without it actually sticking out at us. So again, painting in the shadows, we're going to be painting in things like the hot rim on the edge of the shadow. We're going to also paint some skin breaks where not skin breaks like in tattooing, like skin breaks like the paint got smudged off a little bit. That's just done by using like a Caucasian skin on a new layer on top of everything, and I just kind of paint it in. There's no trick. Like I'm not like there isn't a base of his skin underneath and then I'm scratching away the paint. It's just straight up painted on top of the flats. The one thing you'll also notice is that the ears are the same color as the body. That's just because why not? There's a lot of I don't know why going on in this image, to be totally honest. It's just kind of for fun. I just scrubbed ahead and realized that I actually do take this sort of like nose and ear blush and stuff and I tweak it a little bit later on so it doesn't read so strongly as it's like actually blushed. So I guess I kind of covered my own ass there, but anyways, we'll say that the paint on his face is more of like a dye than it is a straight paint. I don't know, whatever. Anyways, again, this was all just done for fun. You can see there I resized the canvas just to give a little bit more space on the top. I just painted in that texture in the background using one of the brushes that automatically comes in Procreate. I don't remember which one it is, but I believe it's in the retro category. So now we're into the highlight, painting with blue, and it's just like a really pale turquoisey blue with a very lowered opacity. It's not set to blend mode of any kind. Here we're just tighten in on the face so you can see some of what's going on there. And you can see the hair detail. I mean, you can see it in a couple of other zoom-ins, but you can see that that's also painted with a brush that's in Procreate. You'll identify it very quickly if you just start looking through some of those more patterny brushes. Here I do a shadow bloom, which I end up not liking, and I turn it off later. I've explained how to do that in the past, but just so that you know, you select your shadows, and then you select the inverse of your shadows. You copy all of that, and then you repaste it. Then you blur it, and then you select your shadows, and you select the inverse of that, and you clear it. And what that does, if you followed along, is that it takes your highs and it blurs them into the shadow, and then it deletes all the shit that's not in the shadow, so that it creates this feeling that the lights are blooming into the darker areas. So some things that happened while I was talking, I added this shadowing that's creeping in all around his body. I just did that by filling in the negative space, blurring that so that it encroaches, and then clearing that negative space and setting it to multiply so that we get that effect there. This character is already very colorful and sort of engaged with the viewer, but this is where we enter the experimentation phase, where I'm just going to try a few things and just see if that brings anything interesting. So you'll see me do a chromatic aberration right there where I'm just playing with it. I mask it all out and then I sort of paint in these chunks like it's glitching, and then I decide not to do that. You'll see a little bit more experimentation happen, but where I end up deciding to go with it is instead doing this bright blue outline around him and then having it break him. So you can see there I've got some vertical strokes, and that I don't like, but I decide, oh, that's kind of interesting how that works. So we have some of it encroach in on him and just sort of highlight a couple of his contours. That's basically it. We use it in a couple little areas too, just to make it look a little sketchy. Here I wanted to try something, but it didn't work out. I wanted to try almost like the paint was thick in spots, and I just wanted to do this quick little experiment, and I ended up not liking it. Same thing with that big texture that you saw come in and then go away. I ended up not liking it. I had a little bit of depth to that blue rim just by duplicating it and making it black and offsetting it so that it looks like it has some thickness to it. And then there I am playing with color balance to see what might be interesting there. Here I want to get a little bit more form out of the hair, so I put in a little bit of extra bounce action in there so that that really feels dimensional and like it's picking up the light around it. You can also see on his eyes and things like that that we've gotten a lot of good details in there. When we do the final pan, you'll be able to see that, I think, a little bit more clearly. I push his chin forward just a little bit more by having a black sort of soft, almost ambient occlusion-y shadow that's even stronger underneath his neck. I had these earrings to his ears. It felt like it went really well, so I just decided to add that in. Some sort of a minor detail is changing right now, but I don't know what it is. Here we're just tweaking a couple of colors, things like the shadows. Turning everything back on now so that I can see how it's all playing together, and figuring out these sort of little strategic spots to potentially put more of that blue so that it feels like it's fully integrated into the thinking behind the piece. And then here's the last bit where I just add those little bits of skin so that we can see that the paint is coming off, and I also add some pink paint onto his orange paint just to make sure that it looks like it's all kind of painted on. And right there, that's the final piece. There's not really much to say other than it was just fun, just playing with symmetry and color and doing something kind of interesting, I guess. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you on the next video. And if you're looking for me on the internet, these are the places where you can find me.